Time to tap in. Yep. Welcome, Twitch. Welcome, YouTube, and wherever you find yourself watching this channel to the Ghost of Highbury. I'm your host, Anton. It's a pleasure to be with you for another live stream. Tonight, we are going to talk about transfers, the good ones, the bad ones. Mostly, if we're being honest, most of them have been very, very poor. And so we're going to dive into all of the transfers since about 16, 17, since that season, because I think that at that point, most of us were wanting some sort of change. We wanted either Arsene Wenger to kind of reinvigorate himself, maybe take a look at some new ideas, maybe some fresh takes, maybe bring some new assistants in that kind of had like just a new take on the modern football game. Or there were people who wanted him out. They wanted someone completely new. They thought that he overstayed his welcome. His ideas were stale. We were getting just torched at the back, and they wanted something new. And so I would say, and probably you would say, that since that time, since Arsene left, we really haven't gotten to the point where we are just happy with every team that gets put out. There's always something, not a player missing, but like there's always a part of the pitch where we seem deficient. Remember, we couldn't score goals because we had Giroud and he was, like, I don't want to think about that. And I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, but I think about the year that Ozil could have set the assist record. And then, I think about that Giroud versus Monaco Champions League game where, he's just getting chance after chance after chance and just can't put any of them away. And so we really wanted attacking. And then we got attacking, and then we wanted just like a dominant defensive center half, and we never got that. We did buy people, but none of them have turned out yet to be what we've been looking for. A lot of people think that Saliba, at some point, and we're kind of upset that he hasn't really gotten a proper chance, whereas other people have that we might feel who haven't, who really doesn't really deserve that chance. But, so we're going to look at everybody that's come in, everybody everybody who's come in, everybody we sold, and and just see what we can do, what we can do going forward, and how does the signings that we brought in this transfer window, how they will impact Edu and Arteta's new, Project 23, as I dubbed it, style of recruiting. And so I know I said I was going to talk about, that Edo interview, but I still haven't found, I still haven't found the footage that I'm looking for, and I know it's out there. I think I'm getting really close. I just feel like there's certain gaps in the video that I'm missing because the pieces that I look at seem to just be chops and pieces of an interview. And I'm kind of wanting that entire thing before I comment on that. And so do me a favor, if you're new to the show, which everybody should be new to this show. Again, I'm Anton, and please do me a favor, if you like this sort of thing, if you've been looking for a fresh new face to bring you, to have conversations about Arsenal Football Club, or if you're looking for somebody US based that might stream a little bit later, that might fit, the kind of thing that you're looking for, please consider giving me a like for the video, and also subscribe. I'm trying to build a community, and I would love for you to be a part of it. So what brought me to this decision? What pulled me off of sort of like looking at Edu in that interview onto jumping, kind of going backwards and talking a little bit about transfers? Well, I can say when I woke up this morning, after you get everything together, you make sure your kids are squared away, you look at your work plans, and you You look at your work plans for the day and what you have to do, and you get your coffee, hopefully like you do. And by the way, I hope you get your beer, your wine, your coffee, your water tonight. It is sparkling water, so I'm on the water tonight. Um, so what made me change my mind to go from edu to transfers was I saw the news, and let me, like I always do, share my screen and show you the first thing that I saw. One of the first things that I saw this morning was this: Mohamed ELNeny Arsenal reject a bid from Galatasaray for ELNeny. Now, there could be a lot of reasons why this happened. The article is very, very short. It just says they rejected an offer for a 29-year-old. They don't go into the reasons why. They don't mention a transfer fee or anything like that. So it's and so this was reported multiple times across different news outlets, and as well as the kind of in the know guys, in the know reporters on Twitter reporting the same thing. So let me just get out of this. So it got me thinking. I saw some reports saying that the Galatasaray president came out and said basically, again, just like with Kolasinac, the wage demands were too high. And so that's going to be, it seems like it's going to be a recurring theme for the players that we're trying to get rid of, the so-called deadwood, if you will. And so I thought like, wow, like we've sold one player this season. Okay. Just think about that. We came into this summer window saying, listen, right? You heard several people. You were probably one of those people who said we need to get rid of at minimum 8 players, right? Was that you? Did you say that? Because I know, and we can take a look at it. I know there was at least at minimum 5, and some people did depart, but we have just done a terrible, terrible job of recouping money for the players that we employ. And sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes you get brought in, and for whatever reason, whether it be injuries, whether it be you not fitting into a system, maybe the coach got changed and now you don't fit into his plans because he needs a certain style of player in your spot, a myriad of things that could go on. But for whatever, players come, players go, right? But it seems like for at our club, when it's time for players to go, we fumble the bag when it comes to bringing money in. And because of that, we are just leaking money like a bad, somebody put a bad tourniquet on you. We're just leaking money. And so I thought to myself, like, why does this keep happening? And you know what? To be fair, I don't know if it happens at other clubs. I'm sure it does. But because I'm an Arsenal fan and because I really don't care about many other clubs, I don't know that it happens to them. It probably, like I said, it probably does. I just don't know. And so, but it just seems like it happens with us all the time. And so, what you tend to do is you always sort of look at your neighbor and see what they're doing. And what you see at Tottenham is not a whole lot. They don't have a ton of players coming in. They don't have a ton of players going out. They might bring 1 or 2 players in a year. You don't really see like this mass exodus or mass entrance of players over there. Then you look at Chelsea, and it just seems like, and I know there is, this thing hanging over Chelsea's head, which is Roman Abramovich, but it just seems like even when they sort of buy a player and he doesn't work out, they figure out a way to get money back. And now you're not always going to get them, like if you paid 40 million for a person, you're not going to always get 40 million back if you decide to sell him because of the terms in which you're selling him. You're probably selling him because he's not working out. Not in the case of, like, say, Eddie and Hazard, where they were chasing him for a while. He had done, he had been their best player for a number of years, and finally, you know, Real Madrid put up a number that they couldn't resist. And look at them. That is a tremendous They secured the heck out of that bag because he has been nothing short of a disaster since he's been there, right? He did great things at Chelsea, and then at a certain point, and I don't know what went into that decision. They thought, okay, I don't know if it was a, like a business kind of thing, like, let's shake hands behind closed doors. And if they come in, they put this type of money, sort of like a Jack Grealish kind of situation. If they come in, if Real Madrid come in with this bag, let me go. And they said, okay, and that's what happened. I don't know if that happens, but they always seem, even their young players who have never played a Premier League game, they get 10, $20 million for consistently. And these are from their academy players. And they make no bones about loaning players out who don't work, right? Do some of, and they end up getting, you don't see any of this canceling contracts, this and that, buyouts, this, that, the third. You don't see any of that with that club. And so I thought that I would take a look, and that's one of the things that, as a director of football, Edu's job, I think that if you're doing a sort of review, like a yearly review, that's what you should be judged on. How, like the people that need to go, how well are you doing on those deals? Now I know and I understand that a lot of that has to do with the sort of form of that player and the market for that player. But it seems like we choose the wrong hills to fall on. Sometimes sometimes I know you want money, but sometimes you need that salary off your books just as much as you need that transfer fee. And I think that's especially um it's especially important with someone like Granit Xhaka, right? Are we ever gonna get the 20, $25 million that we're looking for? Let's just assume, I think in the best case scenario, we come top four and he's an integral part of that, and then he still wants to leave. I think maybe we can get that number, but that is a humongous if, right? I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying it probably won't, right? But I would love to be proven wrong in that. I think in that situation you could, but the more likely scenario is Lukonga's going to take his job and he's going to want to leave next year, and we're probably going to get $10 million for him, probably. We might get a little bit more, and so maybe that extension of a contract maybe does something that gives them a little bit more leverage. They say, okay, well, he has 3 years left. We're not just going to give him away. So you're going to have to do some installments or something like that to maybe hit that $20 million mark. And maybe that'll work. And if that does, and he ends up leaving, okay, well, we got 20 million, but we paid $35 million for him. And he has not been a $35 million player. He's been a probably 15, $20 million player, which is probably why they asked for the number that they did. And even Roma thought that was too high and offered somewhere in the area of 10 to 15. Well, hindsight being 2020, like all of us thought that, hey, we should have just taken it, right? Because you get him and his wages off the books, and that frees up money to bring in his replacement. But instead, what we decided to do was kind of double down on him and extend his deal, give him a little bit of a pay bump, and then say that we're not going to bring in anybody better than him. That's just not smart management to me. So, in saying all that, that's what's brought me to this point where I want to take a look with you, with all of the transfers that we've made since about 16, 17, and just take a look, and you see for yourself what you think of our transfer record. Right now, everybody that gets brought in, and this is why I want to go back, because I'm not going to judge the people that we just brought in because they really haven't played yet, right? Because according to, if we did that, we would say like, oh, well, White's probably definitely not $50 million player, and the Conga is probably worth way more than what we paid, but we just don't know, right? Lukonga might flatten out a little bit, and Ben White might go up a little bit, as well as for Tavares and uh, uh, Takahiro. Okay, which love to see him there. I think he played a full 90 at left center back today, and that's um I guess that goes into like the kind of versatile kind of sort of player that he wants, which is I guess why he wants Ainsley Maitland-Niles to remain, because you want to be able to like do this Lego thing where you can just plug and play, a sort of player everywhere. But sometimes you just need a specialist who's good at his job. That's really all I'll say about that, because Takahiro might turn out to be amazing, and that'll be great. But sometimes if you need a winger, he shouldn't have to be able to play a number 10 or play striker. Sometimes you just need a really good winger. So, with all that being said, let's take a look at our good friend transfer market, and let's go over these transfers. Do me a favor, give me a like if you're watching. If you are, I appreciate it. If you watch this afterwards, please give me a subscribe and engage with me. Like you see up here. I'm on Twitter. It's right here. I'm on Twitter, and I love to engage. I love to talk everything Arsenal, and I follow all Gooners back. Also, if you have a Twitch channel, do me a favor, leave me a link to your channel if you're talking about Arsenal or you're talking about FIFA, or if you're just a Gooner. Let me check out your channel. Let me see if I can give you a follow and support what you're doing, just like you can support what I'm doing. So let's take a look. Let me share my screen. Mm, mm. So here's transfer market. Okay. So I said, okay, so we can start here at the departures and arrivals from year 16-17. So here's where we thought we saw this, as like, okay, now we need to start doing something. Now we need to start making some good decisions, because just like the name of this show, we were promised, we were promised, to return to greatness in exchange for selling our best players, to pay off the Emirates Stadium. And we were promised a lot. We were promised that we would be up there with the Bayern Munichs and Manchester clubs and Chelsea's and PSGs and Real Madrids of the world. That's where we were sold, because we needed the money we needed the revenue from the bigger stadium. And so, according to this, and hopefully it's correct, we're just going to start here. We can, they have records that go all the way back, but we're just going to start here for just for historical purposes. So it looks like we spent $124 million, and we only sold $11 million worth of players. So let's just look at the departures. Serge Gnabry went to Werder Bremen, and we know how that turns out. Let's not dwell on that. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna start crying. You're gonna start crying if we talk about you know letting him go. I know I always say, and I don't know how you feel about this. I know how um Man United has brought back Pogba, and Chelsea has brought back Lukaku. And I would say if we can bring back anyone at this point, you know, with this point, I'm not saying like bring back Andre out of retirement or Bergkamp or somebody like that. I just mean recently, if we can bring back somebody in their form, i.e. Lukaku, I would bring back Serge Gnabry. I would break the bank to bring him home, because I think he is a player that immediately he makes us better. And I think that's the rub on sort of Edu with this Project 23. And he made reference to it during the interview, where he said that he wants to have this young core of players, i.e. Project 23, but then he wants to surround them and nurture them with world-class players. And I think that after that, everybody's saying, where the world-class players at? Where are they at? Do you mean like on our team already? Because if that's what you mean, there aren't any. That's another conversation for another day. But I know what you're trying to say, Edu. But all we as fans are trying to say is, if that's the plan, that's fine, but you should have brought in at least one or two world-class players, because if you're dependent upon the players, which it sounds like he is, that are on the team, they aren't world-class. Truly world-class players don't drop and don't just fall off. Don't just fall off, right? Lewandowski doesn't just fall off. Mbappe doesn't just fall off. Neymar doesn't just fall off. Suarez doesn't just fall off. Those players don't just fall off. Okay. Iniesta, players like that. They just don't, well, I'm just gonna have a bad 2 years here. They just don't do that. World-class players don't do that. Okay. And every single player on our team, except who we said yesterday, Bukayo Saka, has fallen off. So who are these world-class people that you're talking about? I know he made mention to him saying, I think he said Lacazette and Aubameyang are going to score 40 goals combined this season. Listen, and let me get close for that. If that happens, I wonder if he's willing to put his job on the line over that statement, right? Because we're 3 goals in, we're 3 games in, and I don't even know if they've even had a shot on goal, much less a goal. So I don't know where he gets that from. Maybe he sees something in practice that I don't know, but with all due respect, I don't see it. Okay, Wellington Silva. That's right. We did bring him in. We never saw him. I don't know where that guy went. And then we loaned out Jack. Okay, Christian Bielich, who turned out to be pretty decent. We loaned him out. I think we brought him in and we loaned him out. Matt Macy, who hasn't worked out. Thomas Rosicky, one of my heroes, awesome player. We released him on a free. His contract was up, but injuries and things like that, you guys know the story. Didn't work out. We loaned Chuba to Brighton. Then I think he ended up leaving shortly after that. I think to not Huddersfield, another club. Joe Campbell left to Sporting, and then now he's doing his thing somewhere else. Asano, wow, forgot about him. So again, all these guys, right? And then we, no, actually, okay, so no, so all these guys left, right? And we loaned out Callum Chambers. This would be, I think, the first of one of his relegations that he has on his account. And then Mikel Arteta retired and went and learned under Pep. And then Flamini retired as well. So yeah, look at that. Okay, we get a loan fee for Jack, right? We sold Gadabry for $5.5 million. We sold Wellington Silva, and we got so we got 2.5 million loan fee for Jack. So that's $11 million. Arsenal Football Club has gotten rid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 players and only made $12 million. You can't tell me that's disgusting business, right? Now, let's have a little bit of revisionist history here, okay? Out of all of these players, none of them are world class, I would say, barring Serge Gnabry. Right? He plays for one of the top 5 clubs in the world and starts every week in doing so. I think that makes you as close to world class as you're probably going to get. He's in the prime of his career. He's 26 years old, and he starts for Bayern Munich and Germany. So he doesn't just start for his club; he starts for his country as well. So let's swing on over. And remember, we always talk about we want to get the owners out because they don't spend any money. Well, here we spent $124 million here. Right. And so I think we need to sort of I'm not used to an owner who actually cares, being an American sports fan. I haven't really for us, we don't really care if our owner truly cares or not. We just kind of assume that they do, but but because of certain guidelines and spending practices that we have to deal with over here, it's never really been an issue, right? And I can understand in English in world football where like your owner caring and being extremely wealthy can work to your benefit. And so in this instance, I understand why people want Kroenke out because one, it doesn't appear that he cares, which is really important, and two, he's extremely wealthy but doesn't spend like it. And so I think I understand why that pisses people off. But to say he doesn't spend, I don't think is really an accurate statement. You can say we can have an argument for you should have spent more. Okay, and we can have that debate, right? I'm not really trying to cap for Stan Kroenke, but I understand, right? But so let's take a look. So here's where we needed to say, okay, please spend some money. We need some players, right? This is where we decide that we need some. And who do we buy? Right? Who's up top? We spend $50 million. I know it's in pounds. In pounds, it's a little bit different. Okay. So they buy Granit Xhaka, right? We buy him for $49 million. 49 million and a half, almost $50 million. Can you imagine? Right? We spent $50 million on Granit Xhaka. All right. And we're on basically over $5 million with Roman. We could have gotten rid of him. Right. But I understand you spent 50 mil on him. And now look at this current market value, 25. This is kind of what I said, right? $25 million, right? And they were trying to get sort of 20 plus some add-ons. And Roma said, no, I'm not going to be able to do it. Right? Boom, off the gate, hasn't worked out. Skriniar Mustafi, we bought for $45 million. So that's $95 million right there. Right? So to say this owner hasn't spent money is just really inaccurate. It's who we spend the money on is the problem. We need to demand better management of the money that is given, right? Of the profits. We have the highest ticket prices and things like that in all of Europe, right? We make a ton of money, every match day. We buy, we come out with kits, it seems like every 4 days or something like that. We've come out with at least like four or five kits, training kits, these kits, the third kit. We got a third kit, and we not even anything to have a third kit. We rocking a hot third kit to the League Cup, right? It's supposed to be used for like European competition. We rocking a hot third kit to the League Cup, into FA Cup when it comes up. That's what we're doing. Okay, so let's just keep going. That hasn't worked out. Look at that market value, 2.75 million. All right, $50 million, $45 million. I'm sorry, $2.75 million. Right. So whose feet does that lay on? Did we scout bad? Did we cheap out? Should we have spent more in that position? I don't know. Probably all of those. But when you buy a player for close to $50 million, you don't see in 5 years that plummeting almost 98%. All right, let's continue. Lucas Perez never really worked out. $22 million. Didn't work out. Couldn't get a start. Couldn't get in for whatever reason. Didn't work out. He's gone. Look at that. From 22 million down to 3. Okay. And like I said about Asano, we bought him and then we bought him in and then we loaned him out. And Rob Holding, the Mr. I'm sorry he didn't cost $50 million guy. Well, you know what? I'm glad he didn't cost $50 million because then we would have spent a combined $100 million on people who clearly aren't worth $100 million. So I know what Arson was trying to say and things like that. And he put in a few performances, but it was obvious at a very early level where his ceiling was, and that is at best a bottom tier relegation battling team in the Premier League at best. And that's not bad, right? Millions of people would kill to have Rob Holding's life. So I'm not pooping on like his life or him personally. I'm just talking about his skills and being able to do the job and be a number one starting center back at Arsenal Football Club. He's not it. So what does it mean? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we bought him for 3.3 million, and somehow, well, his value is actually going up. So he's actually a player that we could sell and actually make some money. And I think that for a lot of fans, his value, he was one of the people that we thought we should have sold. Instead of starting him week in, week out, sell him and give that spot to William Saliba. Cohen Bramall. I never even saw him play. Okay. Matt Macy, we know, who's just gigantic and hasn't played. He came back. But like, look at that value. Colin Chambers, we loaned him from we loaned him to Middlesbrough. He came back. His market value is 13 million, so not a lot. His value hasn't raised a lot. And then Jack came back. Yeah. So looking at this, okay, so this year we spent $124 million. Has any of those players helped us in any sort of way? In terms of at best, we bought a $50 million squad player. 1, 2, 3. Okay, left from this list, 3 of them are still here, and they are squad players at best, but we spent about $55 million for them. So that's just bad business. Okay, we got rid of people, didn't bring in any money, $12 million. We spent almost $125 million, and we bought squad fodder. Okay, so let's scroll up. 2018. Okay, where are we at on time? Okay, we're looking good. All right, 2018. Let's do the arrivals first, right? And for me, this first guy was a player that I could absolutely not believe that we got. I was ecstatic, right? I was ecstatic. It was weird how we got him in January, but I did not care, right? And I know because of like Alexis Sanchez and all those weird things we had going on, we kind of, he was kind of falling out with Dortmund. I know he was like kind of wanted to do like the Eden Hazard thing to Madrid. Remember back in the day, like his dad was saying, it's his dream to play for Real Madrid, this, that, and the third. They didn't, Dortmund kind of fumbled the bag. They didn't want him to go. They kind of fell out. Promises were broken. He got pissed off. He kind of ends up in our laps, right? So $70 million we pay in January for Aubameyang. But, right, just that summer, we spent $60 million on Lacazette, a player, again, another player who sort of fell on our laps because of circumstances, right? You guys remember he was kind of promised and wanted to go to Atletico, right? He didn't really want to come to us, right? And so they had a transfer ban because of something they had going on, right? And they couldn't get him. And he was, had his, probably had his mindset that he wanted to get out of there. And, because of the transfer ban, it kind of fell through. I think we were probably his backup team. we probably offered him a better wage than Atletico was going to pay him, and we were willing to stump up 60 mil for him. And Dion said, yes, please, I'll have that. I'll have some of that. So then we do that. So now we got 2 strikers, right, who seem to have gotten along. And for the most part, I would say Aubameyang has helped. I would say Lacazette has helped. But in the case of Lacazette, we bought him as a striker for his record at Lyon, banging goals. Okay, right? And so, but he hasn't banged the net. I mean, that's just he does everything else, right? But I need my striker banging the net, and I think that's why when they had the it was apparent pretty quickly, and I think that's why they went ahead and pulled the trigger. Maybe there might be something else to that. I don't know, right? And then we do a fatal mistake, right? And this is a fireable offense for me, right? I don't know if it was Raul or whoever. I don't know who was. Can't remember who the director of football was at that time, but whoever decided to do this Henry Mkhitaryan, Alexis Sanchez swap should be fired, right? Remember, he was all set. Remember, we couldn't keep him. I don't know what we were doing, right? It was apparent very, very early to us fans that when Alexis came in, he was a firecracker and we absolutely loved him. Oh my gosh, he was amazing. Scoring goals, his energy, everything was just what you wanted. When you bring a player in, he was everything that you wanted, right? And I don't know what was happening behind the scenes, but he's scoring goals, he's scoring assists, he's linking up with Ozil. They're doing their thing. We're winning games. We're coming back in games. We're doing amazing things, right? And we think like, okay, this is the start. Okay, now we got Ozil, now we got Alexis. Okay, now let's start something, right? And then they don't tie him down, right? And then to him, he probably sees like, like what are we doing? What are we doing? Right? Because where was that? Okay, so Alexis Sanchez came at 14-15. Okay, along with Danny Welbeck. We bought Gabriel, but like look at the rest of these ends. 22 million for Callum Chambers. He's worth 3 now. Okay, I mean he's worth 13 now. So he's kind of reduced his stuff by like 30%, his value by like 30%. But look at this, okay? We love Alexis, right? We bought him for $46 million. He's a lot older now. He's 32 now, but he's still worth more than a lot of people we brought in, right? Like, i.e. Danny Welbeck, right? So we bought him here, okay? Look at the next year. No one to help him win, okay? Look at the year after that. It won't be discussed. Nothing to help him win. Okay. Then we move up again to this year, right? So he probably is looking at it and saying, this team ain't about that life. This team ain't about that life. They haven't brought anybody in who can help us push us to the next level. We're going to the Champions League and coming right back out. All right. So he said, like I don't, and they didn't knock him down to a deal, and or say, okay, well we're selling you, that's it. And maybe they were, I don't know. But all of a sudden, then he goes to Man United. I think he was ready to go to Man City. Pep wanted him. They had the kind of Barcelona connection going on. All of a sudden, Alexa, like Man United comes in, he immediately regrets it. So it's a terrible. It's not just a terrible deal for us because we're selling them to Man United, and I don't want to sell anybody to Man United, right? I don't want to sell anybody to Man City, and I don't want to sell anybody to Chelsea or Spurs, any of them. Okay, but we end up swapping them because of this terrible deal, right? So we bring in Mkhitaryan and we give them Alexis Sanchez, right? We bring in Konstantinos Mavropanos, who is, we bought in for 2 million. He's now worth, according to this, almost 7, and has been doing his thing in Germany. We buy Sead Kolasinac on the free. We buy Colin Bramall. So then they come back. They come back into the team. Okay. And Ainsley Maitland-Niles gets promoted from the under 23s. All right. And so looking at this again, okay, so we've lost Alexis. We brought in Mkhitaryan, and then we do the whole, remember, hey, Pierre, you want to come here? And then we do that thing in January, right? So we think, okay, let me get Aubameyang. We got Lacazette playing both at the same time, but what's the problem now, right? And we'll get to that in just a second. So let's look at this, right? Here is one time that I can think of where we actually finessed the club, right? We finessed the club. It doesn't happen very often, and I can only think of 2 times that we've done it really since I've been a fan. I'm sure there have been some times in the past, right? But the 2 times I can think of where we actually got over on a like, we sold a player, right? And we've made more money than what I personally think he's worth. This is the first one. This is Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, right? We sold him for $41 million. Right now, he's currently worth just about 20. Kind of rarely plays, is kind of squad fodder, right? But we rated him, but he couldn't really get into the club. Sometimes he couldn't stay healthy. It just became a point where I think that was he a Hell-In guy? I don't remember, but he was one of those guys who we really wanted to do well and really just didn't. I think his ceiling just wasn't that high. He had the pace and he had things like that, but it just never really came together. So I remember when this happened, I was just kind of like, dang, I really liked him. But when I saw how much we sold him for, I said, wow, we finessed somebody, and I'm happy to see it, and I'm here for it. Okay. Of course, we talked about Alexis. We then sold Theo Walcott for 25 million. I don't know how much he was worth at the time, but Theo Walcott banged goals, right? Which is something I can't say for our wings right now. I mean, Pepe kind of does this thing, but he's not yet. He's not Theo Walcott yet. Theo Walcott banged goals. And I know he was a very divisive sort of player. We either loved him some days and hated him other days and things like that. But Theo Walcott banged goals. Okay. And then this guy, right? We let him go to Chelsea because he was like, well, I'm going to be behind these 2 dudes. So, yeah. Right. And we finally let him go. So we sell him to Chelsea, of all people, and then he ends up winning the Europa League against us and does the thank you Arsenal. Remember that, right? We're so good at selling players, so good, right? We sell Szczesny to Juventus for a whopping $15 million, and he's worth close to 30 now, right? Great. We get rid of Lecoq. We get rid of Gabriel. We get rid of Kieran Gibbs. Look at these numbers, right? Now, this is okay. This is, he's worth a little bit more. His value's going up since we sold him. And he's he's 30. Okay. West Brom, he's at Miami now. But okay, we got rid of him. Christian Bielik, we put him on loan with obligation. We get rid of Yaya Sanogo. Buying Yaya Sanogo was, we tried and it didn't work out. Okay, let's just move on from that. Matthew Debuchy, for whatever reason, we decided to bring him in from Newcastle. That didn't work out, but he was okay. I think the injury sort of kind of Hector Bellerin, if you will, his kind of career. He was looking pretty decent. He looked like he would be a decent sort of backup, or might even in some days supplant Hector Bellerin in terms of being more defensively stable and things like that. But then he got injured, and then he just never really recovered. And so we kind of got rid of him because of frustration. Tuber Akpom. We loan out Martinez. We loan out some other kids. So we and then we did a free. Yeah. And so we actually made some money, $175 million, the bulk of that being the guys up top here with finessing Liverpool for the Ox. We didn't mean we kind of swapped the money here. We made made a few bones here. But I would have say I think we should have got more money for we're selling them to a Premier League club. But it is neither here nor there, right? So we talk about this money, right? Except for 15, and we can talk about that because that was the year where we were pissed that we didn't really spent 30 million. But if you look at this, okay, from 14-15, the year that we bought Alexis, 130 million, right? 125 million, 170 million, okay? And we're getting ready to go there, right? That's a lot of money that's going out. But look at the names on here. Look at the names on here and tell me we just going and now we're here, right? Who in this team is helping you win a league? These two guys, and then he couldn't stay healthy, and then for whatever reason, we ended up selling him to to Roma. I'm sorry. And so we didn't put any faith in him because for some reason we get talented center backs in for cheap, and then unless they're English, we don't give them a shot. Right? I guess that's neither here nor there. I'm just kind of throwing it out there. But yeah, I mean, that's what it seems like because it seems to me that Mavropanos and Saliba are better than Chambers and Holding. Okay. So now we move up a year to 18-19. And let's do the ends. We bring in Lucas Torreira. Everybody's happy. We have been chasing him down. We see him in the World Cup. He is, like he's looking good. He's on the big stage. We're happy. We're watching their games more than what we normally would because we want to see him in Boston in the center of midfield. He impresses. Remember the Tottenham game with the screaming and shirt off and stuff like that. I mean, he was a big deal. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't. All of a sudden, he's amazing. And I know like some of the homesick stuff, and I know, but prior to that, maybe he was a little homesick, right? But he had our support. I backed him. I thought he was a great player. I thought he was just what we needed when we got rid of Conklin. We needed somebody with who was a little bit more forward thinking and who was a little bit cleaner tackling than Conklin, and we brought him in, and I think he did amazingly well. It was a decent amount of money, $30 million, not too much. We didn't pay $65 million or $50 million, right? We bring him in, and he's doing amazing. No problem with that transfer. Berlino comes in and is doing well, right? We buy him for 27 million. His value is actually going down a little bit, but that's probably because the team overall has gone down. I don't necessarily see a problem with this. I didn't mind this transfer at the time. I hadn't really heard of him a lot, except for like he was kind of a fringe player on the German team. And then we bring in Socrates. Was that okay? We actually paid money for him. I thought that was a free. And I thought at the time he was past it. I seen him as slow, but I understood why they bought him because they bought him sort of for his footballing brain, his positional brain, his leadership and things like that. And I think I think the problem with him was his ceiling just wasn't high. He came in at his peak, and I don't think that his peak was good enough for the Premier League. Not his fault. I just think that with a little bit better scouting, I think we spend that $18 million a little bit better. We bring in Guendouzi, right? And we know how that turns out. I mean, he just got his first international cap on the main stage. And yeah, I mean his attitude stinks at times. And again, we've already touched on Arteta's man management with young, kind of feisty kind of players and his lack of ability to sort of deal with them. So yeah, so that's that. But we get him on a loan. Denis Suarez. I have no idea what this is. No idea, right? It was a loan. Okay, so I'm not going to harp on it too much, right? Stefan Lichtsteiner, again, this brother's retired now. Okay, but again, Why? We got him on a free, so I'm sure we paid him a decent amount of money since we got him on a free. But why? This is what I'm talking about in this management. These you make a shrewd sort of signing with Lucas Torreira, right? But then you look at the rest of these players. It's like we always bring in one who's like good and who can possibly help the team move forward. And then you look at all of the other players and you're like, huh? Why him? Like what? Why are we? Why are you the way you are? And so we promote Eddie. We loan. Oh, and we bring back Mac Macy from another loan. We bring back Callum Chambers from another loan, who sort of impressed, but then they got relegated, of course. We loan. We bring back Christian Bielich. We bring back Martinez and Dejan Iliev. We promote from the under 23s. So in total, that's close to $90 million going out. Okay. So then, I mean, coming in where we spent and going out, Lucas Perez, we sell him to West Ham for only $5 million. Chupa Akpom, we sell on. He was an academy kid, so whatever is what it is. But you see academy kids like going for 10, and I don't know if those kids, because I've never seen them play, are better than him, but that kid had talent. And so I just see like $2.4 million. I mean, I see his PAOK. So that might tell you, it might give you your answer. Maybe it's, that's his level and they were willing to pay the money. I don't know how he's doing now, but I hope he's doing okay. We sell Joe Campbell to the dude, the guy who's on never mind. It's a terrible joke, but Frozione, that's like the guy who in the Credibles, Frozone. So we sell Joe Campbell after loan after loan after loan after loan. And he actually impressed when he did play with us, and then we kind of just said no. So I don't know what happened with him, but we sell him to some club in Serie B, some Italian team, and their total market value is $21 million. Okay, so whatever. I don't. That is wild. Okay, yeah, and so that's where he's hanging out right now. Okay, and then we sell Asano. We give Jack leaves on a free. Macy gets loaned out again. Santi leaves on the free. Emiliano leaves on loan. Chambers leaves on loan again. Bielix goes on loan again. We loan Ospina to Napoli, and then they ended up paying us for him. And then Per retires, and now he's over the youth setup. So we only got $10 million in, but we spent another $90 million. So you could argue, every year we're spending $100 million. How many clubs can say that? How many clubs can say year in, year out, 100 mil? Not many. Not many at all, especially with these outs. Right? And I know what people are going to say. Some players or some clubs spend 100 million on one person. I understand. Right? But listen to what you just said. They probably only needed one person. Right? So it's the same amount of money, but the situation is different. They don't need a bunch of players. We do. Because we keep buying the wrong player. We're spending $100 million. So is Chelsea. Chelsea needed one player, and they decided to spend $100 million on him, right? And he's gonna work out because he's one of the best in the world, right? We spend $100 million on. We spend 50 on two players usually who aren't good enough, and then the other 50 on a combination of players who are never going to see the light of day. That's what the records tell me. Okay, look down here. We see over $100 million on two players who are okay, right? Aubameyang being slightly better than just okay. He's done the business, right? But we bought him for $70 million. He's worth close to 30 now, right? If he continued to bang in goals last year, I'm sure his value is probably a little bit closer to 40 than 30. Okay. They have him, probably because of age, because of the 2-year difference, he's a little bit higher. But the rest of these players aren't going to help us do anything. And that's my issue. Okay. So now let's move up to 2019. And again, let's look at the amount. $176 million, right? So we took a break last year. We took a break in 2018-19, only spent 90. Boom, we ramp it right back up the next year to $176 million, right? And here is the second finesse that we pulled off, right? Where we actually made some money. And not because we were, not because we sold a lot of players and made a lot of money, but because we sold one player and we finessed the club, and the rest of them we were just willing to say whatever it appears to be. So let's take a look, right? And here is where we're going to have a little bit of conversation. So we buy Nicolas Pepe, and to be honest with you, I thought about doing tonight's live stream solely on Nicolas Pepe. But I kind of argued against it. I want to see him, not because if I do a live stream focused solely on him that I'm some sort of like I'm coming down on him. I actually like him very much. I just wish that there's certain aspects about his game that I wish he decides to evolve. But I just decided to do this. But so we bring him in for $88 million. It just seems so wild when I look at it in US dollars instead of pounds, because it's a little bit more in US dollars. So it's $88 million. We spent close to $90 million in Nicolas Pepe. So if you tell me in US dollars and you tell me, okay, we're going to buy Pepe for $90 million, as much as I like Pepe at Lille and he's amazing, he's not worth $90 million. Right? No. And I'm saying no. Right? No, we need too much. If you look at the list of players that we've been buying, right? If we're going to spend $90 million on a player, i.e. Lukaku, Paul Pogba, something like that, they have to be at that level. We can't spend it on a player who is basically like a one-hit wonder, right? And so, so we buy him. We spend $33 million. Look at that in US dollars, right? Doesn't it seem even crazier that we spent $33 million on a player who's never played for us? That is wild. And that is a mismanagement of funds, right? And we buy Kieran Tierney. So you look at now, this is the first time, so, and even with David Luiz, who we buy for $10 million, right? So this is the first time where you see these four players in a while, right? Where you look at throughout the years where we bought four players and you say to yourself, okay, finally, we have brought in a group of players. Where am I? Yeah, right here. We brought in a group of players that comes into our squad and makes us, helps us contend. Right? Finally. Okay, we spent $90 million on the it guy of the year. We get him somehow. And I know there have been discussions about how that even happened, and maybe some parking lot exchange deals were going on. I don't know. But however it happens, right? We get him. Right? And we're thinking he's going to Barcelona or something. I don't know. We think he's going somewhere. Right? No way he's coming to us. Right? We can barely hang out in Europa. Right? And so, but he comes. And somewhere we get $90 million of somewhere. Right? And then we get Saliba, who, we sort of heard of, we heard rumors of. All of a sudden, everybody's watching YouTube. This kid's amazing. Wow. We can finally get rid of Socrates and Koscielny. We can kind of right those wrongs. And I don't want to poop on Koscielny because I like Koscielny. I actually have his kid upstairs. But Mustafi and people like that, we can get them out. Right? He wouldn't leave till later. Right? He wouldn't leave until way later. But and then we get Kieran Tierney. We haven't had, we had Nacho Monreal. He got moved on. He was getting a little older in the tooth, but he was a great servant. And then we bring in Kieran Tierney, who we have been trying to tie down all summer. And finally, close to the end, we actually bring him in. And he's to be a guaranteed starter, but of course, now we know, he's kind of injury prone and things like that. So, hopefully he can continue to be the man that we all want him to be. Then we buy David Luiz. And we're all kind of like, again, like I told you, I live with a Chelsea fan. And he didn't understand it. He was like, no, like, why did we? He's like, I kind of understand. He, kind of makes bonehead plays every now and then, but, like he's played well for us. He kind of felt, he was kind of in two minds about the transfer. Right. And he's like, I think he's going to do well for you. I think he's going to do well. Right. And I would say overall, he probably anchored this team a little bit, but he also made some bonehead plays. And I'm glad he moved on to extending his deal. And then in January, we do a few weird things. We bring in Pablo Mari from out of nowhere. Kind of brought him out from like obscurity over in Brazil. I think they had just won the league the year before. And then, but I'm like, oh, he was on Man City's team. So there's the kind of Man City Arteta, but he didn't make it. Right. And I'm not saying that like that's neither here nor there, but it is a thing. If you're at the top team in the country, right, and you get brought out and try to make the team and stuff, you don't make it. Why would you think that he would be good for us? Right. And I know that can go both ways. Well, when Sergio Gnabry left, he wasn't good enough, and now he's world. Okay. Right. But Sergio Gnabry was a kid. This guy is not a kid. He's 28 years old. Okay. So he was in the absolute prime of his career when all this was going on. So we knew. Okay. His market value is at least $7 million. We bought him for $8 million. So even in this short amount of time, his value is going down a little bit, a few $1 million. We buy Martinelli from the middle of nowhere. His value is kind of going through the roof. Right. And then we get Cedric on a free. Does anybody know why? We loaned Danny Ceballos, and we loan out Eddie. No, Eddie comes back. Eddie comes back from Leeds. It didn't work out. He came back in January because it didn't work out. Because he didn't fit Bielsa's, they probably didn't work hard enough. We saw him and he scored a couple goals sometimes, but maybe, I'm not going to put that on him. Maybe it just didn't work out. Maybe he just didn't fit into his plans. Okay. And then we elevate Reece Nelson, Joe Willock, Xhaka. Mavropanos comes back for a second, and you can see he's going to go out again. And then Dejan Iliev comes back, right? So we outlay $176 million, right? We got this crop of kids who turns out right here to be a great crop of kids, especially, of course, Xhaka, who's now worth $71 million. We talked about that yesterday. If you didn't check out yesterday's stream, it was all about Bukayo Saka, and is he you can check it out right up here. I'll put the thumbnail up here when the stream ends. Is Bukayo Saka the best forward at Arsenal? And so this window here seemed to be pretty good. And we'll talk about the departures here in a second. But I remember this window thinking like, all right, wow, that's a good window. That's decent. The only issue was, and now we know, was that the manager at the time didn't want any of these players, right? No matter how much they cost, right? He didn't want any of them, right? He wanted totally different players. And so we I say we spent $176 million, but we spent $176 million on players who the manager didn't want. It was almost like in the list, like I talk about a list of 5 players. These would have been like his number 4 and number 5 players in each of these positions, except Kieran Tierney. I know he wanted Kieran Tierney, right? So this was the end of the Unai Emery sort of Arteta beginning right here, right? And so, yeah, and so Arteta was the one who brought in Mari, Martinelli, Cedric, loaned in Danny Ceballos and stuff like that, right? And so this is now the beginning of Arteta's sort of rule right here, right? And then we talk about departures, and we made $60 million, probably the most we've made on departures. Let me just and recently, I guess that's 100 now because of Alexis. Maybe this 17, 18 might have been more. But besides that, look at this. $30 million. I'm just going back a little bit to 13, 14, $13 million. $72 million. Who did we sell? Oh, we sold Van Persie. Okay. We sold Van Persie and Song. All right. Okay. 86 million. We sold Fabric. Oh, I'm not going back that far. It's going to piss me off. Interesting. I just saw something. Anywho, but yeah, so this is the first time in a while, really, that we've made some decent money. And you can see as I go up, we kind of go back down, so we make no money. But this is the second player that I've seen that we've made some money on by finessing the club and getting $33.5 million for Alex Iwobi. We finessed the play. We finessed the club. I mean, he is a hell-in guy and things like that, and he had some potential, but that ceiling was pretty low. And people say that, oh, I mean, and this is one of the only positions where we've sold, and you could say that we replaced that spot with Bukayo Saka, and we've totally upgraded with a player who is ready and willing to win games for us. We sell Christian Bielik finally to Derby and get some money off of him. We sell. Remember the weird thing, like he wouldn't sign. Remember he missed like the preseason game and stuff like that, and demanded to be sold. We ended up selling Koscielny, our captain. That was so weird, right? Those were just weird times. We end up Ospina ends up staying in Napoli, and we get only $3 million. He's worth $6 million, so we didn't make any money on that. We canceled Mkhitaryan's contract. Remember that? We canceled that. We sell Carl Jenkins in the Forest. Okay. Asano, we finally get rid of. We sell him for $1 million. Is he worth more than that now? He's worth 3. Of course he is. Yeah, we get rid of Nacho. We get rid of, and then we do free transfers for Lichtsteiner, Cohen Bramall. So we loan out Saliba back because remember this is the year we bought him. We loaned him back. Right? Another one of the most gigantic blunders of this administration, right here. And Ramsey. Okay. Now he's he's 30 years old now, right? And he's worth $15 million. But at the time, he was probably worth 60. And we let him go on a free. Absolutely ridiculous. Right? Again, this right here, this is why this was, like as happy as we were about the people we brought in, right? This should have been at least $120 million worth of money coming in, because we should have sold him for at minimum $50 million. But that's not the way Juventus do business. They catch people on freeze. And so he hasn't even worked out there. Yeah, he's won some things, but he wasn't I think he was on like a tremendous amount of money, something like $500,000 a week or something crazy, right? And they're trying to get rid of him so fast. They can't, they're really trying to get rid of him. 30 years old. They're trying to get him out the door. Nobody wants him. So they're going to be holding on to him for a while. But yeah, that's a fireable offense to me. If you let him run down his deal and he leaves on a free, I think that happens to a big money player, anybody over worth, let's say something really high. Let's say something liberal. If you're worth over $30 million and you leave the club on a free, at that point, the current director of football has to leave. I don't care. I don't care if he's worth 70 and you get 30. I don't care. But you letting players leave on a free should be a terminatable offense. The day they do that and they sign for their new club, you should have to resign and turn your key card in. It's just ridiculous. Okay. We sell Danny to Watford. We loan out Konstantinos again. We, get rid of we loan these guys out. And then, he's tired of ELNeny, so he loans him out. Czech retires, agent Czech goes back, and things like that. So we did make some money. We did make $60 million because of Iwobi, right? But we don't, right? But again, we thought that this would help, and it has. He hasn't lived up to what we thought he should be yet, right? He's still worth $40 million. And if somebody came in for $45 million, I think we probably sell and probably upgrade that spot to maybe somebody who the manager probably wants a little bit more because, and truth be told, it was not his signing. Saliba, as you know, we haven't given a chance to. Kieran Tierney can't stay healthy, and David Luiz is gone. The rest of these players haven't helped us, except Xhaka, right? So I guess this will be remembered as like the summer of Xhaka, because starting at this point, he's done amazing things. And we go up to 20, and everybody knows, COVID, all this type of stuff. Remember, we buy Thomas Partey on deadline day for $55 million. We buy Gabriel $28 million. And then we make the Pablo Mari signing permanent and spend $6 million, which, to be fair, if he's a backup and plays every now and then, this is not bad business. It's not bad business. The problem is it's Arsenal. He's going to play way more than he should, and we look terrible at the back again. And then we're wondering why we even made this signing in the first place. We loan Martin Odegaard in January. In one of the strangest sort of transfers in history, we buy Alex Runnerson from I don't even know where, right? And he's one of the worst signings we've ever bought. Okay. We make Cedric's, again, we bring Cedric in on a permanent. We buy Willian for some reason. And again, I don't know if that's like a parking lot deal. I know the Kia Jarapshin kind of combination, with Edu and things like that has kind of influenced a lot of deals, i.e. the Willian deal and the Cedric deal and the Pablo Mari deal. And so, yeah, can you please leave? I get it. You're a fan. Just be a fan. Don't, I know he helped us with Martin Odegaard and as an intermediary and things like that. So they're still using him. But in terms of your actual clients, they're all awful. So could you please no? Thank you. Okay. And so again, you look at this, we loan out Maitland-Niles, we loan out Joe Willock, and then we promote Smith Rowe, which is pretty good. And so this window is underwhelming because, and as you remember, we have a decent defense. Decent. Okay. Right. But now the problem is our midfield. Right. We're not creating anything. Aubameyang's starting to dry up now. Well, now we're like, well, we're not scoring. Our football is boring. We don't enjoy watching it. We're not winning many games, and we're not scoring many goals, right? Except like House Plumbers FC and like in the Europa League group stage or something like that. And we're just awful. We're just not good. So this window was sort of underwhelming because we needed an attacking player. And remember, we didn't bring in Odegaard until January, right? And he's still pretty young, right? So so then remember, this was when We loaned out, man, we sold Martinez to, isn't he wild? That whole thing with him, like, they stopped the game and stuff like that. That is wild. What is going on with that guy? And it's funny because Buendia did the same thing. It's like they lied to get into the country or something like that. That is wild. And the people, like the military, whoever comes onto the field, they cancel the game and they need to get deported immediately. That is wild. I bet Messi was like, "Fam, what are you doing?" So, anywho, but we loan him. We sell him for $20 million. Is he worth more now? Probably. Wow, $40 million. It's neither here nor there. He should have stayed, but people. I know now people have 2020 and say, "Oh, we saw this in his character, and that's why we sold him." Okay. We loaned out Guendouzi because of the whole thing that they gave Martinez. His kind of shot was when Leno got hurt. And Martinez tried to choke a dude, and then says the comments about how he makes more money than Brighton's whole team. Blah 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 blah. He gets on Arteta's bad side, and he gets him out of here. Sends him to Hertha. And then we send Constantinos to Stuttgart, where we end up doing now. We have a loan with obligation. We bring in Kolasinac. We bring in No. Oh, I'm sorry. We loaned out Kolasinac. What am I talking about? We loaned out Matt Macy. We loaned out Socrates. No, we can't. No, we canceled his contract. He went on a free. We canceled his contract. So he went on a free. We did some weird business with Fenerbahce, and we finally got rid of Ozil. How much money is he worth, by the way? $4 million. I think that's something. We finally get rid of Schalke. I mean, of Mustafi. He goes to Schalke as well. They ended up getting demoted. Somehow, Sead Kolasinac through all that is still starting games for our football team. Saliba goes to Nice. Here, Mkhitaryan, we pay him off. And this is where, like this right here, this is, I mean, is Edo in charge at this point? I mean, because if you're looking at this written down, right? I know, like you look at Twitter and things like that, and it just comes through in a crawl, and you're just like, wow, okay, wow. But looking at this in black and white, this is a fireable offense. Look at the ends, okay? Besides here and here, this is at the start of the. This is the summer window. This is not this, right? So this now you've made him permanent, which you shouldn't have. Okay. You brought this guy in, you made this permanent. I mean, you brought him on a permanent, which you shouldn't have. You brought this player in, which you shouldn't have, right? You brought in Ryan, which was good, right? You loaned him out, which was bad. You loaned out Joe Willock. I'm kind of indifferent about that because he didn't really fit the system. Okay. And you wanted him to get some playing time to see whether he was a real deal or not. And he proved himself to be the real deal. Right. But then you look at this side. We sell him for probably half of what he's valued at. You loan him out and you don't try to help him. Right. You don't keep him again, even though he's impressed on all of his loans. You loan him out and then bring him back. Okay. You get rid of him. You cancel his contract. You cancel his contract. You cancel his contract. You cancel his contract. Right? And then you loan out Saliba to Nice. And then you loan out Ainsley again in January. So all these guys in blue, I'm pretty sure all of these guys are January transfers. I think that's the way this works here. Because I know all these guys are January transfers. Okay, after you finish this business and you've given away all this money, you need to pack up your suitcase and leave your key card at the front. This is a terminatable offense. This window, as in totality, this entire year, 2021, everybody should have gone. Right, and it seems like the only person who lost their job was Raul and Emery. And now we come here. And the only thing I will look at, I won't judge anybody on this side of the table. Right? Because they've just come into the club. And again, we spend $182 million. most in the Premier League. Right? I have no problem with Joe Willock, which is the only player we sell. Right? But look at the rest. Okay, Lucas Torreira hasn't done anything for years for us. And the only thing we can do is loan him out. Right? Willian, we release, and thank God we make money on. We didn't make money, but we didn't lose money. Guendouzi, loan with an obligation. Saliba, another loan. Dejan Iliev, another loan. Reece Nelson, we finally get him out on loan. I think that, and I'm trying to pull some people, and we're going to talk about these young players in a little bit and about Project 23 and if that's going to work. I'm just trying to pull in the right people. Renison is gone. Hector Bell. So all these players, and there were more. There were more. All these are loans. But it appeared to me like all of these players here, probably barring Reece Nelson and Saliba, you actually wanted to sell. And if I'm wrong, tell me. Right? But it appeared that the club wanted to sell them all. And the fact that you could not, whose fault is that? Who should be held accountable for that? You can say because of COVID and things are messed up, but we figured out a way in the COVID year to spend $182 million. We figured out a way to do that. So whose fault is that? So you can't say again, like, and I just want to touch on that. I'm not saying, it doesn't make him a good owner. It doesn't make him care about the club. Because if you actually cared about the club, I see that you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year. But if you actually cared about the club, you probably don't have to spend that much money year over year, because you look at things that are being done and you say, no, wait a minute, I gave you 170 million, I gave you 160 million, I gave you 90 million, and look what you've done with it. And it's sort of the neglect where I have an issue with the Crunkies. Not because of the money or lack thereof, not because he doesn't put his own money in, because it's clear. We just looked at the hard data. No matter where the money comes from, there's money being spent. But it's the sheer neglect of letting the people that you hire do whatever they want. You're hiring the wrong people, and you're doing it consistently year after year after year. You're hiring the wrong executives. You're hiring the wrong management. You're hiring the wrong managers. And until you do that, it doesn't appear to me that you're capable of doing that. Now I know stuff came out about I can't think of his name, drawing a blank right now, but you know who I'm talking about. And so that him and his intermediaries have been talking and things like that, and he'd be willing to come to Arsenal if the deal is right. But again, I understand, but we've proven even when you have a player who coaching who has some experience, you won't do what he says. He says, I want A, you bring in player D. Not good enough. Not good enough. And so, now you've seen it from Black and White, just like we went through that. I hadn't looked at that. Of course, I remember all of them, and they come back to me, but I just can't believe that, some of the transfers that we've made is absolutely ridiculous. Some of them, the money that we've left on the table for some of these players, and it's going to continue. It's going to continue. Sead Kolasinac is still here. ELNeny is still here. Alex Lacazette is still here. Callum Chambers is still here. And all of them are playing in the last year of their contracts. So come January, they can sign for teams somewhere else on the free, and there'll be more money lost. I'm sorry, but if a player worth over $30 million leaves, you have to lose your job. You cannot lose any other job in the world. You can't lose them $30 million and expect to keep your job. You can expect your key card to work the next day when you come to work. No, that thing has been deactivated. Your stuff is in a box. Go to the security counter and check your stuff out. Get your last check. Because you lost the club millions of dollars. Nowhere else does that work. Nowhere else does that work. And so that's where I am. with this whole situation. I just, I saw that ELNeny thing this morning, and I just thought to myself, wow, we are awful at transfers. And when you look at it, we've been awful at transfers for a very, very, very long time. And I think more than anything, I just think, of course the manager is a big deal. Of course the players are a big deal. But until we get a management structure in charge who actually can handle the ins and the outs, we are going to be in bad shape for a long time. With that being said, that's my time. I went over a little over. I was really planning to do an hour, but that took a while to do with all the, we went back. I think we went back a year more than what I intended, but I think I think it just showed you, one, that we've spent money. And so we can kind of dispel that. I believe you could be wrong. If you think I'm wrong, and you don't think we've gone further enough in a year that we spent like 176 million dollars, we should have spent 276 million or spent 300 million, and that would have solved it. I'm not convinced. Looking at the hard numbers and looking at the people that we brought in for how much, I'm not convinced that the people who were in charge of that would have made the right purchases. So I don't think we could have spent $1 billion, and I don't think we would have bought the right people at the right times who fit the profile for elevating our club. So I'm gonna leave you right there. Thank you so much for checking out the show. Like I said, please leave me a like and please subscribe. I'm trying to grow the brand, and I would love to engage with you. If you're on Twitter, here's my Twitter handle. It's Highbury Ghost US. If you're interested in being on the show in a podcast style format, or you want to stream with me, please leave me an email. I'm at ghostofhighbury@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for joining me for another live stream. I will see you back tomorrow. It's been fun, and I will see you tomorrow.